Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope all is well. This is Hamza. I'm here with my business partner, Wyra, and you are building your business for the wrong reasons. I'm sorry to say it. Today, I want to talk about that with Wyra because the facts are that most entrepreneurs don't understand the dangers of building their business for the wrong reasons. And you have the average entrepreneur out there that is just driven by pride and insecurity and wanting to prove others wrong and wanting to get approval and trying to grow a business. And so they're emotional and they don't make the right decisions. And their business growth is tough and it's arduous and it's laborsome. And even if somehow they make it to a point where they've got some success, it isn't sweet, it doesn't feel good, it feels forced. And on the other hand, you have the elite entrepreneur that has abundance flowing towards him. He's able to know that he's building his business to create an impact. He wants to bring value to his clients. He wants to create product market fit so that he's able to scale something that is for the greater good of the market. And so as a result, clients and customers and team members and mentors and resources and advisors just come flowing towards him, and he's able to grow his business a lot easier than the average entrepreneur. And so what we're going to be speaking about today with Wyra and myself is how you can avoid the dangers of building a business for the wrong reasons. And what are those reasons? It's ultimately for your own self-serving, selfish reasons. So Wyra, I wanted to ask you, what is your story, man? I know that you've been at a stage where you felt like you were growing your business not from the best place. Tell us about what that place was.
And when I first became an entrepreneur, when I was like 19 and discovered that you could build a business online and make millions of dollars without going to college, it completely blew my mind. And I got so inspired to do that and became very, very driven towards that goal. And I told myself that it was really for freedom, for wealth, for travel, for time freedom. And while a lot of those things were true, there was this kind of deeper layer that I wasn't aware of. And it took me going through some extreme burnout and despair to the point of feeling like a complete failure and actually questioning my value and my skill as an entrepreneur, like really going through what they call a dark night of the soul, where everything was crumbling down around me, that I really dug deeper and was asking myself, like, why am I doing this? What is it that's driving me? And what I discovered through that process was that what was really driving me was this feeling of feeling unworthy and feeling not good enough and feeling unloved, and really like a lot of childhood shit to do with wanting approval from my father, wanting to prove to him that I'm worthy and have him be proud of me, and then wanting to prove to a lot of the bullies that I had when I was in middle school, and really like this sense that I didn't belong. And entrepreneurship for me became like this mask or this vehicle that I could use to prove to the whole world and all of those people that I was worthy, that I am worthy. And I believe that so many entrepreneurs are driven by those things as well. And we don't realize it, right? We don't realize it until we actually go inside and do that inner work to discover those things. I didn't realize it, right? If somebody had told me that, 5 years ago, I would have said, like, you're full of shit. Like, you're just crazy. But yeah, it was very powerful to realize those things.
Nice, man. Yeah, I can resonate with that. I have a similar story, maybe a little bit different, but I think a big part of me wanting to be in business, I saw this one talk show in my university campus while I was studying to eventually become a doctor. And there was these guys that started a company and they just were average, and they ended up raising $500,000 with Mark Cuban actually. And I judged these guys and I was like, man, these guys are freaking average. How the hell? If they can do it, then I can do it too. And so there's a lot of ego there for me. And I also just knew that if I were to be in a position where those guys were that I was looking at and I was able to do that, then I would be respected. And so I think a big part of my entrepreneurship journey was for most of my life feeling not respected because I was like the only brown kid in school, or I didn't feel like my ideas were valued as a kid and being the youngest in my family. I didn't feel like I was really, yeah, respected and understood. And I wanted the power to make people respect me because if they worked for me, or if they bought products from me, or if I had something they wanted, then they would respect me. And so really what that came down to was wanting approval. I just wanted to feel worthy. And for most of my life, I felt unworthy. And most of my life, I felt like an outcast. And most of my life, I felt like someone that needed to prove something to myself, really. I didn't feel like I wanted to prove either my dad or sibling or anyone wrong about me, but I wanted to prove to myself that I was worthy because I actually grew up most of my life believing that I didn't deserve as much as other people deserve. And maybe I'm just not, again, worthy, right? That's like the one word that comes up over and over again. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs feel this because, we have difficult childhoods a lot of our times. And maybe a lot of us, I know with myself too, right? I didn't grow up being able to buy whatever I wanted. There were times where I wasn't able to buy like a t-shirt or a pair of pants. Like I'll give you a very simple example. And I've never really shared this. I'm just thinking about it right now. But I remember I really wanted like these skinny jeans when I was a kid, when those like green skinny jeans were a freaking thing. And there was like a pair of skinny jeans available for like, I think maybe like 50 or 100 Rand, which is the currency in South Africa. And I didn't want those ones because those were like the cheaper brand. They weren't like the Billabong ones. I wanted like the Billabong freaking skinny jeans. And I remember just seeing all my classmates wear that brand, and I wasn't able to afford it because my parents, my mom specifically, she didn't see that, that there's any difference between the two. She just thought that, hey, this is literally the same thing. You can buy it for cheaper from the damn no-name shop or even like the secondhand store. And a lot of the time she was even like sewing and knitting my clothes, and even my damn art class apron wasn't bought from the school shop. It was sewn because my mom was just very resourceful. And back then I resented the fact that she did that because it made me feel like an outcast and different to everyone. Obviously, I understand the wisdom behind it now, and I appreciate my mom. But back then, I just didn't feel worthy of so many things that everyone around me had, like simple crap, like me getting freaking sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly in them, while everyone else got like yogurt pouches and little fruit, dried fruit mixes and chips and all this other stuff that I just never got. And I just used to feel like, man, I don't want to feel scarcity in my life. And it's not, as you said, Waira, it's not wrong to want those things in your entrepreneurial journey. And I'm so glad and blessed that I have a lot of those things now. And I'm able to buy a lot of those things that I couldn't before. But then I realized, man, like this didn't really matter in the first place. Why was I so fixated on needing to feel worthy and needing to buy and have all these things, when the truth is that worthiness comes from inside, and the feeling that I was really looking for by having those expensive things, either the Billabong or the freaking yogurt pouches or whatever, what I was really searching for was a feeling of contentment and happiness and peace. And this idea that you can't have that unless you are at some revenue threshold, which is something I indoctrinated myself to believe for so long, is just absolutely false. So yeah, it's one of the reasons, those some of the big reasons why I grew my business. And I wanted to, Waira, just throw this back at you and talk a little bit more tangibly about what you think. If someone is watching this right now and is having a realization that, crap, man, I am ego driven, or I am fear driven, or I am insecure, which is why ultimately scarcity driven. How can you shift that?
Yeah, man. I mean, really, it all starts with awareness, right? Like we have to become aware of these generally unconscious parts of our mind, right? Like so many of us are driven from things from our childhood, that those first 7 years are really the formative years for our personality, for our beliefs, for our temperament, for our emotional well-being, for our sense of identity and sense of self. And so It's really becoming aware of how did your childhood and your relationships with your parents and your primary relationships in those years actually affect who you are today? How did it create that? And how did that actually motivate you or guide you to make the decisions that you have in your business? How do those decisions show up in your business with your team? And so really starting to gain that awareness of how did my childhood affect who I am today and how I'm building my business and the reasons why I'm doing that. That's really the hardest part, is to become aware of those things. And some people spend their whole lives being completely unaware and just being driven by those traumas that we all have. It's normal, right? It's part of the process of being a human. Beyond that, being able to take ownership for them, meaning like, hey, this was something that happened to me then, and if I'm ever going to make different decisions in my life and not be driven by these things for the rest of my life, then I need to declare and decide that I have the responsibility and the ability to heal these childhood traumas and heal these parts of myself that are unconsciously driving me. Right? We got to take ownership for that. And then it's really a process of walking and committing to mastery over those parts of ourselves, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen with one therapy session or one, personal development weekend or seminar. It's a lifelong process of gaining awareness, taking ownership, and mastering that part of ourself. And that's really the work that we do, man. I honestly, I believe that's the most important work that we're here in this lifetime to do. And when we really start to do that work, we see big shifts in our business, big shifts in our relationships, big shifts in our life, big shifts in how we feel when we wake up in the morning. And yeah, Hamza, maybe you could share a little bit about like, what are some of the shifts or the results or the benefits of doing this kind of work that you've experienced and that the men in the Entrepreneur Brotherhood experience?
Yeah, man, I'd love to share that. As you're speaking, it's interesting. What comes to my mind is my old brain, my primitive brain when I hear this, and it sounds like this inner work is like this woo-woo, soft, beta, low revenue making bullshit. But the facts are that these things that we're talking about, which is going inside and healing some of your childhood patterns in order to then unlock the way to greater revenue, greater relationships, greater health, spirituality, and really being that elite or really all-encompassing entrepreneur that has it all. It comes down to you not just reading books. That's a great way to gain awareness. It's a great way to listen to podcasts and gain that awareness. It's great to obviously talk to your friends, etc., be in coaching programs. It's stuff that all entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs are doing. But the one thing that most entrepreneurs are not doing is surrounding themselves by other entrepreneurs that are on that same journey of going from average to becoming one day eventually elite. And that's a lifelong process that all of us will go through. And that's why we created the Entrepreneur Brotherhood, for men that want to master business and life, to be able to get together weekly.
Sorry, man, to cut you off. And really, I want to like make sure that we hit this on this call of why is this important, right? It's important because as entrepreneurs, the results of our business are determined by the decisions that we make. And as human beings, the quality of our life is a result of the decisions that we make, right? Every day we're making decisions, left or right, A or B. And our decisions are a product of our beliefs, of our emotional state, of our perceptions, our perspectives, right? And if we have these unconscious things that are driving us from our past, from our childhood, then the decisions that we make are driven by them. And that's really the crux of it, is making better decisions, right? 1% shifts in our decision making have huge outcome differences, right? And so I really, really wanted to hit that point, man. Is it's about improving the quality of our decision making, and that's the end result that we're really looking for here. That's why we do this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for adding that in. So really what this comes down to then, guys, is who's in your inner circle? Who's a part of your tribe? Who's helping you see the blind spots? And then giving you the feedback, the raw, truthful, candid feedback on how you are showing up in the world as a business owner, as a husband, as a son, as a brother, as a friend, as a spiritual man. Who's there to tell you how you're showing up? And when we're ego driven and when we just want to freaking grow the business at all costs, and that's all that matters, I will literally sacrifice everything so that I can have this, you're not going to think to put yourself around these kinds of people, because that isn't important right now. That isn't needed right now. But I would challenge that. And I'll challenge you to start thinking about how you can actually level up faster, more effectively, with less risk, with better results by having those like-minded men around you. And if that's something you want for yourself, not just in your business, but in your life, then DM me. I would love to talk to you about the Entrepreneur Brotherhood and see if it's a fit. And hope you enjoyed this live, guys. These were the dangers of growing your business for the wrong reasons.